Hi, I'm Scott Wolf, and I want to share with you the beautiful artwork of Disney costume designer Alyja Kalinich. I love this beautiful artwork that Alia gave me. This costume design was done in the 70s for the Cinderella Ballroom Dancers unit in the Main Street Electrical Parade at Disneyland. Here's a photo of Alia and me. Intending to be an illustrator, Alia studied at St. John's University and then Parsons School of Design in New York before finding work with the noted fashion designer Alyja Kalinich. When visiting California on vacation, Alia loved it so much that she decided to stay. Kalinich coincidentally came to California where he asked Alia to be his assistant on a film he was working on called The Ambushers. Soon after, Alia decided to approach Disney to see if there was any design work involving sketching, and she was hired in 1968 to assist Disneyland's costume designers Jack Muse and Tom Pierce. Jack or Tom would have an idea, and they would describe it to her, and then she would sketch it out to help sell the idea to the producers. When Walt Disney World opened in 1971, Alia worked on many of the costumes for the new resort. For that, she worked with Jack on the entertainment costumes, and she worked with Tom, who did the operational costumes. The operational costumes were what cast members wore in shops and restaurants and the attractions, loading passengers, for example. Here's a newspaper clipping of Alia modeling a monorail hostess costume. These are some of Alia's designs that she did many years later for the Tokyo Disney Resort monorail cast members. So many types of costumes need to be designed for the parks. There's the shows and parades. There's those operational costumes, the atmosphere bands, musicians, and singers. And there's the characters and the character overdressings. If Mickey Mouse is wearing a raincoat or a marching band uniform or a Halloween costume, those would be overdressings to his traditional outfit. For being part of the opening of Walt Disney World, the costume design team was honored by having their names placed on a window on Main Street in the Magic Kingdom. There's Alia with her maiden name, Alyja Kalinich, her name at the time. Eventually, Alia was given the opportunity to design some of her own costume ideas. When Alia was a full-fledged costume designer, one of her big triumphs and one of her favorite projects was designing all the costumes for Disney's Lion King Celebration Parade in 1994. As with any project, great research went into the design, and Alia brought a traditional African look to them. This was also unique because Alia wanted the costume to be instantly recognizable as the animal it was representing, but still showing the face of the performer. These are some of Alia's original designs for the spectacular parade. There were often challenges that certain designs presented, but Alia loved the challenges and the process of working with a team to figure them out. If a character was going to fly, for example, Alia had to take that into consideration. She couldn't just design the character flying. She needed to figure out the technical aspects, such as wires and harnesses, and she had to figure out how to incorporate them and hide them within the costume. Understanding the lighting that would be used for a performance was an essential aspect that Alia had to pay attention to in her design. The carefully selected lighting of a theater show could create a very different look than an outdoor daytime parade where the sun, shadows, and weather dictate the lighting. Alia worked on costumes for a number of Disney's nighttime parades, including Disneyland's Electrical Parade, as well as Dreamlight's, Tokyo Disneyland's updated version of the Electrical Parade. She had to take into consideration that these costumes would be seen at night with darker lighting, and if the costume had lights on it, she had to consider the placement not just of the lights on the costume, but the battery packs as well, and how big they were or how heavy they were. The intended movement of the performers always had to be factored in as well, such as a character that would be walking on stilts, or characters that were skating on ice. The distance of the performer from the audience always had to be carefully considered too. Costumes that she designed for Radio City Music Hall, where performers were viewed at a distance, were very different than costumes for parades, where the audience could be a couple feet away from the performer, and they could see the tiny details such as the fabric or buttons. Speaking of fabric, that was part of Alia's responsibilities as well, and you can see that she would often include samples of fabric to accompany her sketches. If a character was far away, she may design it with larger features or bigger eyes. For the opening of Tokyo Disney Sea, Mickey Mouse was on a very high platform, and his sorcerer hat and coat had to be much bigger than normal. And since it was also an outdoor nighttime show, she included more rhinestones and a lot of shiny materials to help him stand out under those conditions. She was involved throughout the entire process, approving things or making changes from the dress rehearsals right up to the first performance. The Tokyo Disney Resort has an abundance of often changing shows and parades, which really allowed Alya's creativity to shine. What a brilliant artist she is, with such creativity. The Japanese audience loves her costumes, and a number of them were converted to plush merchandise. The last costume Alia designed for Disney before retiring was Rapunzel and Flynn for the Tokyo Disneyland Electrical Parade Dreamlights. Alia is not just a brilliant artist, but a very kind, sweet person, and I treasure this artwork that she gave to me. When talking to her about why she enjoyed her job so much, she told me it requires the cooperation of many people, the time frames, the cost, but the final reward is when you see the audience seeing it, and you could tell that there's something in them that's lifted up. They're taken away from the cares of their day by something visual and something musical. Those two things can transport one to a different world. It's the reason why I design, the reactions and joy of the people.